And hello, everybody. Andy Molnar here, your instructor, and we are in week 3. This is MGMT515 Management That Transforms. So we started by talking about leadership in week 1, how important that was, and how then that ties to management in week 2, particularly focusing on managing to lead high performing teams. Now, in week 3, we want to talk about one of the most important tools you have in terms of leadership, and that's emotional intelligence, managing emotional intelligence. I'll say a couple of things up front. One, sometimes we call this interpersonal skills. These are soft skills. So sometimes you'll hear me or literature or in your discussions it referred to as interpersonal skills. Emotional intelligence, sometimes it's abbreviated EI. It is also called emotional quotient or EQ. So frankly, in this course, we use those terms: interpersonal skills, those soft skills, emotional intelligence or EI, or emotional quotient or EQ. We use them synonymously throughout this conversation. Now, as I kick off today, right? This is super exciting. And I just want to start by saying I'm going to hit the ground running. There are 10 ways that you can increase your emotional quotient. In the assignment, I've got a little preamble to the assignment, and part of it is I talk about the muscle, right? Just like you go to the gym to exercise muscles, or you go for a walk every other night perhaps to exercise those muscles, you have to exercise emotional intelligence muscles. You can grow them, and they are powerful. It turns out, research would say, that emotional intelligence is more important in the business environment, in the workspace, than is IQ or the intelligence quotient. So there are always going to be people that are smarter than you. This is life. You will be smarter than others, others smarter than you. But what you can use to get ahead of all of them, because you have enough intelligence, right? I mean, we talk about people being smarter than us. We're really only talking about maybe small percentages, right? Nothing substantive. Where there aren't Einsteins walking around everywhere. They were extreme, right, off this chart, outside of the bell-shaped curve, as we say, right? So we're roughly the same, though there might be a few people smarter than you. But your advantage is to grow with your current IQ, is to grow your EQ, your emotional quotient. And there are 10 ways we can do that. I'm going to hit the ground running, as I said, right off the bat. You can utilize a more assertive, though friendly, polite communication style. Okay. You can respond instead of reacting to conflict. Think about that. There's an important distinction there. You can utilize active listening skills, which we've discussed in weeks past. You can maintain your self motivation, be motivated. I know people that write quotes in their car and leave them in their car by their speedometer so that they can read it every day when they get in the car. I, for a number of years, would drive to work. I had some distance to go and listen to Carnegie talk about the great things that they can do. You can listen to a book called, How to Succeed, right? Be motivated. Positivity is the key to leadership. We discussed that in previous weeks as well. Number 5, practice ways to maintain a positive attitude. Practice, right? This emotional quotient is like a muscle. I said it can be strengthened over time, and your success depends on it. Um, Practice self-awareness. Be self-aware, right? One of the things that makes a great leader great is that they reflect. They're self-aware. George Washington was known for being self-aware because he had no children and he was concerned for his name, Washington, which was important in the state of Virginia at the time, its own kingdom, so to speak, that he was always self critiquing himself, being self aware for the decisions he made. Practice self awareness. Um, Number 7, take criticism well. Reflect on it, accept it, absorb it. I used to say, I don't believe the good things people say about me because if I do, to be fair, I have to believe the bad things, right? What I want to do is listen to the good things, be generous, thank you very much. Listen to the criticism, be generous, thank you very much. And then self reflect. So I tie 6 and 7 together, right? Critique yourself, find your own gaps, as we talked about in weeks past already. And then number 8, empathize with others, slip into their shoes, walk a mile in their world. So, emotional intelligence is this ability to sense and understand, manage, and apply the information and the power of emotions as one of your greatest sources of energy, of motivation, of connection, and influence, right? It's antiquated thinking that is going to say, leave emotions out of it. And we all heard that, right? You cannot. Emotions are always present. Nothing great has ever been accomplished without some power of emotion behind it, right? By suppressing the information given to us by our emotions, we're actually making decisions with limited data. Think about that for a minute. Okay? Emotions by themselves are not good or bad. They just are. That in fact, emotions are information. And so the real question becomes, how do we manage this information? How do we manage our responses to these emotions that we have? That is what becomes good or bad. So emotional intelligence or emotional quotient, this is the ability to intentionally manage your emotions so that they work both for you professionally and personally. So it's not about being nice, right? It's about being authentic and meeting your own unique needs while helping others to identify and meet their unique needs, right? So it's absolutely necessary to have good emotional intelligence in order to reason well with this information you're receiving and to be competitive, right? And so your individual team members that you're going to be working with, they have also an emotional quotient, right? Or emotional intelligence, right? And you want to understand yours as well as try and understand theirs. That's that empathy piece, right? And research shows that teams that get to this point, that attain and sustain high performance, which was the focus of last week, have a high emotional quotient. There's a relationship there. High performing teams in management that transforms have a high emotional quotient. In fact, I mentioned a few minutes ago that studies show that emotional quotient is considered twice as important as IQ or technical experience or education in terms of success. So when you have a good EQ or EI, you can use your IQ, your intelligence, with this EQ to make rational decisions as you use data. Now, here is an approach to doing that if you choose to do so. There are 8 agile mindsets. Agile would call it DISC, D-I-S-C, right? There are 8 agile mindsets. So work asks us to navigate all sorts of complex interactions that require EQ. And there's no one size fits all in our responses to them, right? One moment is going to require us to stand firm in our opinions. The next is going to ask us to stay open to colleagues' ideas. And one situation benefits from an objective focus on facts. The next may call for care with someone's emotions, right? Most of us, however, get stuck in patterns of behavior. This is the problem. And it makes it hard to choose the most effective response every time. So what happens is we rely on familiar responses, not because they're the best choices, but because they're what we know, okay? And so by developing our emotional intelligence, we can reach for new responses that are going to take us to places that maybe our instincts won't let us go naturally. The more comfortable we are in growing our responses, the more agile we will become, the more flexible, the more adaptable. We can adapt to meet the needs of any situation. So this applies nicely to situational leadership that we've looked at in weeks past. And so agile emotional quotient allows us to navigate outside of our comfort zones. So we get to choose with this information, both the data facts and the response emotional facts, we get to choose the most effective response every time. Wow, imagine that. Always winning people over or not alienating others because we've managed this information accurately, both some data and the information from people themselves in their emotions. So with this flexibility comes a freedom. And this flexibility and freedom, this agility, it helps us to adapt to any circumstance, to rise to meet new challenges, and really get the most out of every possible interaction. Now, we have a couple of exercises. I'm just going to touch on them, and then I'm going to play a video, and that will include the conversation for this week, and then we'll be back online on Moodle. So what I want you to think of your EQ strengths. I want you to pause the video and identify 3 strengths, right? The ability to identify your own emotions is important, as well as we're good at identifying the emotions of others. What about ours? The ability to utilize emotions and apply them to tasks, like thinking and problem solving, will benefit here, right? The ability to manage your emotions, including controlling your own, as well as the ability to cheer up or calm down another person, right? So what benefits of the are your strengths to your team, right? I need you to identify so that you can understand and manage your own emotions in a positive way, right? Remember, a high EQ helps people communicate better, reduces anxiety and stress, diffuses conflicts, improves relationships, helps you empathize with others, and effectively overcome challenges. So think about that. I also ask you to touch on what needs power, right? So emotional intelligence, in short, is the ability to recognize and manage your own emotions and the emotions of others, right? This is emotional intelligence. So ask yourself, I need, right? What do you need? And that will help you also understand what others may need as well. That's it for this week. I'm going to go to a video next, and then we'll back to the course.